So Julia, you're a director here at EMG and you're also head of family law. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of what you do, what you do for clients and what encompasses family law?
So my job basically entails helping people, usually at one of the most difficult periods of their lives, so a separation, unmarried couples, married couples, and then the financial consequences and the child-related consequences that come from that. Also asset protection, so prenuptial agreements before people get married, to try and protect assets upon separation. And also we deal with sort of domestic abuse cases, so injunctions, cohabitation agreements, all the happy stuff.
Well, important stuff, isn't it? And
It is.
I guess people don't think, well, I speak for myself really, is that family law is so all-encompassing. I guess maybe people just think it's divorce.
Yes.
And there won't be really a typical day for you, will there?
There is not a typical day. You can plan your day, but then that very quickly changes depending upon, you could have something urgent that happens and the client needs to make an emergency application to court, for example, or you need to urgently draft a document. So whatever you plan during the day, it doesn't necessarily happen, but that's litigation for you, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think the difference between family law and other areas of law is the emotional side of it for clients. And I think that's often the hardest part of the job, to manage people's expectations, and it's a very unpleasant period that they're going through, dealing with the most important things in their lives, like finances and their children. And you can't always give them a definitive answer, especially from the outset. And you'll often find as well that when people separate, they're emotionally very far apart. So the person who made the decision to leave has probably already gone through the grieving process, has made the decision a while back to separate, and they just want to plough on, make some progress. And then there's the person, unfortunately, who wasn't aware of their plans, didn't want to end the relationship, and they want to slow things down because it's all come as a bit of a shock.
Yeah, they need time.
So you've got one party that wants to speed things up, one that wants to slow things down, and that is what can cause a lot of conflict.
Oh, gosh, and I mean, so your job sounds very like fighting fires, quite reactive a lot of the time.
Yes.
And so let's say we're thinking about those people who, they have been maybe blindsided, or that, they're less comfortable with the split. How do you, what level of support can you give them in such a tough time?
Quite often listening to them. So obviously, as well as giving legal advice, because it's a very personal area of law, listening to them and giving them the time for them to tell you their story and what they want to say. Sometimes it's not the right time for them to deal with very important decisions, like making decisions about their children and making decisions about the finances. So we may say, look, we're going to have to pause this, allow them to maybe speak to a counsellor or a therapist or somebody else. They need a lot of support from family and friends. And sometimes we will refer people to their GPs as well if they really are struggling. So yes, it isn't always a case of, right, okay, let's plough on. If it's not right for them, then we may need to take a pause to enable them to get the support they need.
And that's so interesting. I suppose I never really thought of that. People have that like stereotypical image of solicitors, don't they? They're just hard, send a letter on the phone, let's get this sorted. But actually, that's a really interesting perspective I didn't think of. And in terms of helping things run smoothly, I mean, there's no there's no right or wrong way to get divorced or to do these things. But what would you say helps things run smoother?
Being realistic, and recognizing that you might be the most reasonable person, have very reasonable expectations, but if the person who you're separating from isn't prepared to meet you halfway, then you're banging your head against a brick wall, really. And also, it takes people a while, I think, to realize that they made decisions together for their joint benefit, and that's ended now. You've got competing interests. So yes, being a bit realistic about the fact that you're only in control of yourself and your response and your reactions, and not the person who you're separating from.
And what a mind shift, like getting your mind around that.
Absolutely. As I say, the emotional side of it in my opinion, the hardest part of my job.
I bet, yeah. And in terms of thinking about like amicable divorces, what would you say is maybe successful is not the right word, but how would you describe an amicable divorce?
I think for me, an amicable divorce would be, especially if you've got children, putting them first, keeping them apart from any disputes, because you're going to have disputes, you're going to have disagreements. But if you've got the common theme of and the common thread of, we've got children here, they're young, despite the fact that we're separating, we're still going to be co-parenting them. We're going to have some form of a relationship with each other, even though we're no longer together as a couple. Then if you've got that in the back of your mind, then that's a really good start to sorting things out amicably, because that is the joint thing that you've still got in common with your ex
forever.
As well. Exactly.
Yeah. So your amicable divorce doesn't just start and end within 6 months, a year.
Absolutely.
It goes on.
Absolutely. Especially
forward.
if you've got very young children.
Yeah.
But again, you can only do that if the person who you're separating from is of a similar mind.
Yeah.
So yes, I would say that's probably the most important thing. And yeah, just recognizing the fact that you are going to have arguments and disagreements. I mean, especially if you think about childcare decisions, people who are in a relationship will disagree about how to raise children, or
Or a new partner comes on the scene.
Absolutely, and that can cause a lot of upset and a lot of emotion. And recognizing that, despite the fact that your partner, your ex, is introducing somebody else, that doesn't mean to say that your children are going to immediately assume them as parents or prefer them over you, but it just brings out a lot of insecurities, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So I suppose quite an emotional job that you do.
Yes.
What is it that you enjoy about working here at EMG and what you do?
For me, working in family law, I do feel that I achieve something for clients most of the time. But yeah, I mean, helping people when they're at the one of the weakest times and the lowest times of their lives, and seeing them come through the other side of it, that's very satisfying for me. Working at EMG, it's just, it's a really lovely place to work, lovely people, very forward thinking. I mean, before the last year that we've had with coronavirus, we were all worked flexibly. You don't have to be in the office Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Yes.
Exactly, being treated like adults.
Yeah.
Trusted
to
to do your job. Exactly, and if your clients are happy and you're servicing them, it doesn't have to be, as I say, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So I think EMG was really ahead of the times, really, and everyone else is just catching up now.
So if you weren't a director at EMG or a solicitor, what else would you do? So what else drives you?
I'm very interested in human behaviour, so I think, to be honest, I probably would have gone into maybe psychology, what makes people tick, how siblings, for example, can be brought up pretty similar, but then they're just so very different. What makes one person in a divorce behave one way and not the other. And that's probably related to the area of law that obviously I'm practicing in now as well.
So you're very well fitted to what you do at the minute then?
I'd like to think so, yes.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.